Good morning, Stella. We're happy to have you here. This is our second talk with interesting people, as we call it for EU40. I'm Alessandro. I'm here with Daniela, and with us we have Stella, which is a cabinet member of Commissioner Sinkevičius, and we are very happy to have her here. And so, Stella, the way that we go normally is a very informal conversation. So let's dive in, and we can start. Maybe you can start by telling us a bit about yourself and how you got where you are right now, which is interesting.
Yes. So thank you very much for having me, Alessandro and Daniela. It's a pleasure. So I can start saying a little bit about the career path in a way. I started studying back home in Greece, and I was studying political science and public administration. I had a couple of law courses, always interested in environmental law and law of the sea. And then I decided to move to Sweden. So I studied my master's degree in Sweden, actually in Uppsala University, and it was a master's on sustainability. It was a 2-year master's. At the same time, I did a short traineeship in Brussels in an NGO. And so I started seeing a little bit European projects, and I found it very interesting. They were working mainly with different developing countries and projects about EU collaboration on that. That was very fascinating. And then I was still back in Sweden, and I was wondering what should I be doing next. Mm-hmm. And there was, of course, this famous Blue Book traineeship possibility. This is the golden ticket to the EU. So I thought of applying there. And so I did my application really last minute, I have to say. I mean, not hoping much, but really wanting to try it out. And so this is how I joined the European Commission, because I actually joined the DG Research. And I was working there with climate and communicating about climate projects and so on. More about climate adaptation. And then I managed to stay it over, and that was a really good opportunity. I continued working with bioeconomy, sustainable bioeconomy. And then this is how I moved to DG Environment, working more on communication and press. And then I started also taking over social media, which was until very recently. And so this is how in December I had an offer to join the commissioner's team. It was an amazing offer, obviously. And so this is how I am here.
Amazing. That sounds really amazing, Stella. And it's really true that for many, one of the easiest ways to go into the commission is through the Blue Book training.
Yes.
It has started the path for many. And talking about you being in the office of the commissioner, what are your responsibilities in the office? Like, what it's like working for Commissioner Sinkevičius?
So we're a small team, as you might have seen. All cabinets are not very big, so we have to rely on each other quite a lot. I have to say the team is extremely nice. The colleagues they carry a lot of experience from different fields, and they are not all previous employees of the Commission, which means that they bring a lot of different experiences from the Parliament, from the private sector, which is really interesting for me. So I'm learning a lot. My direct responsibilities are communication mainly. Mm-hmm. So I'm running all digital communication. At the moment also I'm responsible for all live events quite a lot. We're trying to digitally connect with our friends. And so I'm also working with different petitions and that we receive. And basically that's about it. And then some citizens dialogue in the future when we can organize them. But mainly that's it. And then we're all chipping in when we can in different things. And what I have to say is that communication is quite interactive. So I'm not the only one working. I have a direct colleague who is the communication advisor. But everyone is quite active, including the commissioner. So everyone has very nice ideas. So we're all discussing sometimes. And also the nice thing is that we can have this brainstorming also with DG Environment and DG Mare, which helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. So I have actually a question that probably many of us ask themselves. So Commissioner Sinkevičius is for oceans, environment, oceans and fisheries. I'm wondering, does he take care of some of his social media himself? Or is it something that you have his access and you post, your colleague post? How does it work?
Well, actually, it's very interesting. No, to be honest, the commissioner is quite involved. So all of our communication is agreed with him. And we are doing it together in a way. It's very nice because it doesn't feel like I'm working alone. So that's really, really nice. He really takes it very seriously. He wants to engage with people. He wants to engage with his virtual community. And really, I cannot explain it more, but I find it extremely nice that we can have his, his personal touch in the messages. So yes, I have to say he is involved.
That is actually quite interesting, indeed.
Yeah, I know it hasn't been too long since you all started working together as a team, but so far, a lot of things happen when you work with people, and other funny anecdotes take place. What is one memory that you have that it was like, that was fun, that was nice, that was a nice day, that was a nice moment, that was a nice event? I don't know, what's a memory that is memorable for you?
Yes, well, yeah, as you say, it's only now the 6 months, and unfortunately, the past 2 were quite working remotely, to be honest. But what I have to say is that I have enjoyed a lot of first experiences following and joining the commissioner in different meetings. So it was my first COP in Madrid that I joined him with. My first Agri-Fish and Environment Councils, my first EP plenary. All these were, new experiences for me. And what is very nice is that the commissioner always is very energetic, and we, all the events are fun to organize and to be there and to chat and to see the people. It's quite interactive. So for me, these are the most memorable moments so far. The moments when we can actually go and move around and be active and meet people. So I really love that.
Yeah, I actually feel the energy, really. Also because Commissioner Sinkevičius is also the youngest commissioner ever. So I guess that is also a first for every one of us. I'm wondering, does the cabinet reflect also the fact that he's young? Like, is your cabinet younger than other cabinets, or it doesn't really play in that side?
I have to say that from what I have seen, we're some indeed of the youngest ones. Though I have noticed that, I have friends in other cabinets that are around my age, and indeed it's changing in the commission. You see, there is more young people now than it was 10, 20 years ago. So I've noticed that also in other teams there are younger people than I have seen in the past. And yes, I have to say that we have some young people in the team, but we also have some that are a bit, more senior, of course. It's a good blend. I have to say the balance is very good. And also we are quite gender balanced, which is quite important.
There has been a very positive development in this last commission, actually, yes. The gender balance that has been seen across different levels. Very welcome.
Very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question actually before we ask you about how it is to work for a cabinet during these crazy times. Before getting into that, I'm wondering, so the best way to get where you are, then you mentioned, is probably start with a Blue Book trainee or with a traineeship of the European institutions. You were also mentioning, though, that some cabinet members do not come necessarily from the Commission. So how does it work? Like if any one of the people that will watch this video aims as a dream of filling your shoes, how should they move and what should they do?
I think there are different ways to approach it, and I'm not an HR expert, to be honest, but I frankly, I cannot tell you exactly how these processes work, because it's always a matter of different elements that one has to think of when building a team. And this doesn't go only for the cabinet, it applies also for other teams, because you have to think the experience, the country one is coming from, the background, and all of this should blend very well in a team, and it should create a good knowledge hub in a way. Well, there are different ways to approach it. I think that some people can have a very successful career before joining the commission, and sometimes when I reflect back, I think that this is also a wise move to do, because working outside the commission also gives you a very good perspective of what's happening either in civil society or in business. So I worked a bit before outside the institutions to see a little bit how it was. Of course, as I said, I was lucky enough to join through the Blue Book. But I think you can follow two ways. Either you can go, have a very good career and then try to apply for a higher position, either a desk position in the commission trying to pass a competition, or to join a cabinet team because you have built an experience and an expertise in your sector. Or you can start and you can join, you can join as a trainee or as a contract agent at the commission, because there are opportunities in this for that. And then I think that, sometimes I notice that good people that join through this way, they really do get very interesting files, and they do get, very warmly embraced from their colleagues, because I have seen it myself. Because in DG Environment, I was one of the few contract agents there. And I have to say that the team was very welcoming, and I learned a lot. So I think there is no one recipe. It's just you can go through different ways.
Super.
I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. Sometimes people limit themselves thinking that there has to be a certain way that I have to do things. But I think as long as you're doing what you enjoy, what brings value to life, you'll find a way. A way is done.
That's what my parents say as well. I agree with you. Yeah, I think that you always find your place in a way. And maybe it doesn't come immediately. For me, it didn't come immediately. And, even before joining the traineeship, it was quite hard to find a job, because it was during the financial crisis all over Europe. And it has been quite difficult, even for me and my classmates back in Sweden. It was very hard even to find a job back home for many people. So, and for me, it was a very limited choice, because working on environment topics in Greece at the moment was very, very difficult.
Yes. Well, I actually agree. We are one of the generation that lives with one of the biggest struggles of youth unemployment. So I really appreciate you sharing this experience with us. Also for the other people that might be interested to understand that there is not one way, but you create more or less your own path. So going to the next one, we were wondering, Daniela and I, so for many in the parliament, the coronavirus, the new pandemic has changed a lot of dynamics. Everything has moved to digital, but I'm wondering, in the cabinet of a commissioner, where we know you have daily meetings, where you have the agenda, you discuss about a variety of things of the day. Also, the commissioner is a busy person, so he has to go here and there for events, for talks to the parliament. How did this change your daily work? What do you see in the unlucky times, let's say, at least the ability of being participant in more than one place during the day? How did this shape your daily work and the daily work?
Yeah, so things moved very quickly also in Belgium, and I think that the commissioner was quite well prepared in a way, because the thing is that we all had our laptops. I know it sounds like very technical, but we all had our laptops and all the programs were installed, so we could be operational very fast. Apart from a couple of technical things we had to figure out the first 2 days, I have to say, then it was very smooth. So at least on the technical department, I have to say, this was very well put in place. And so we could keep all our meetings. All our meetings are continuing normally. And nothing has changed in that department, that we still keep on meeting, keep on discussing, calling each other. We are quite much in touch. Of course, the agenda has changed because many of the events have moved or have been cancelled. So this also took a lot of effort to see what we will be doing, in the sense of there are so many cancelled events. How will we replan? And what are we doing now? So for this one, I have to say, at least from my perspective in communication, it has been quite interesting, because then we focused a lot more on the digital communication. And now we can really also value the power of these tools we have in our hands, because it was 2 weeks ago we organized a live session, live citizens dialogue. And I have to say there were 40,000 people tuned in. We got a lot of questions. We tried to reply to some of them after the discussion, because there was simply no time to discuss everything. And so, I think this is a way that people can actually join and link to the real discussion, and actually have an opportunity to see the commissioner, listen to him, hear his ideas. And for me, working on communication, that was very nice. It was a good change, because it's a different thing to be talking to the parliament and the council. It's a different style of communication, and a different thing to have a direct, interactive communication. And I've seen that other commissions have followed the same example. And for me, this is very valuable these times, because we were basically all at home, and being able to chat with someone having so much to deal with, a big portfolio, it's quite interesting, I find.
I agree that it's very funny that you say that, because I think I was talking with Alessandro about this recently, and these moments right now are really showing many people, because I always have the notion working in communication that sometimes people don't really understand the value of communicating digitally.
Yes.
Really understand the power of communicating digitally and the reach that you can have. And I feel like these moments that we're going through have forced many to see the value and understand the value, which is a very powerful tool. I think is going to be useful for politics.
Yes. That's true. That's true. And actually, and you have seen that many campaigns that many countries were doing to alert people about coronavirus, and, to educate people on certain aspects, have been done online, because there was no other way. And they were quite successful. So I also agree with you. This is really the moment where we evaluate different things, and we see things, with a different light. Because even before, we were thinking, okay, meeting with many people, it's so hard to be done online. No, it's not. If you respect some rules, and if you take the moment to speak, and then you can listen, it's wonderful. It can happen, and it's actually quite good and very efficient.
I actually believe this time I've taught many people how to listen, because in a conversation online now you really have to listen.
You have to take notes.
Indeed. One last question, Stella, and then we can wrap it up. I am actually wondering if you could tell us a bit more what a normal day, if there is a normal day in the cabinet of a commissioner, what a normal day looks like. What do you start in the morning? What hours do you work? Because I know a lot of times in a cabinet of an important politician, hours are a number.
It depends, really. Yes, it depends. So, we have different tasks and responsibilities. So the hours can vary for me than for a more senior person, of course. What I have to say is that I start early, because I prefer to start very early, to be able to see what's happening, to have an overview of media a little bit, see what's going on, digest a little bit the news, see what we're planning ahead, see what meetings are there, if we have meetings where I have to be in, outside the office, and so on. And usually, I go through afternoon till, I have to say, 1 or 2 o'clock, which is all media work of the commission, and SPP, spokesperson service, everything comes out during these hours. So for me, my peak time is until, I would say, 2 o'clock. And then, of course, this varies because if we have important meetings where I'm needed to communicate, I have to jump in. So, or I have to stop the other things and join. So sometimes I have to balance things in a way. But if not, if it's a more quiet day, then I can focus on preparing things after 2:00 also. So it really depends. For instance, if we have a big communication coming out or a big package or something, of course the hours will be much longer than a normal day. But I have to say that so far, we're quite flexible as a team, and this is really nice. And we can do in a way, if we organize ourselves, we are responsible for ourselves. There is a way to balance things because you also have people with families. So, of course, there is an understanding.
Amazing. Well, Stella, thank you very much for sharing with us. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your openness to talk with us about your experience and for sharing the different views that you have shared with us today. Again, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. It's always a pleasure to interact with Commissioner Sinkevičius and the team. So we wish you tons of success in everything that you guys will be doing, and stay safe during these times.
You too. I hope to see you physically soon.
It is going to happen very, very soon.
Eventually.
Thank you very much, Stella. Have a nice day.
Bye. Have a nice day.